Did it again. So we've made chicken from grapefruit, we've made chicken from tofu and soy skin, we've made seitan chicken, we've made just about every type of plant-based chicken you can think of. Now there's one chicken in particular that has a very distinct taste and texture, and that is the McDonald's chicken nugget. Now the McDonald's chicken nugget is such an overly processed chicken, even though they say they use only white meat, that it's very easy to replicate in the plant-based world. So today, using some techniques that we've used in past videos, we're gonna put together a chicken nugget that is indistinguishable from the McDonald's chicken nugget. Let's get moving. So like I said, we're gonna use some pretty simple ingredients. We have our mushroom seasoning, which is gonna really up that chicken flavor. We're gonna be using textured vegetable protein, which we've used this quite a few times. We use this primarily in the one ingredient with the methyl cellulose, which we're gonna be using today. And then today we're also gonna be using some xanthan gum. Now we have a bunch of different flavors and seasonings and spices, and we're also gonna make a batter for these that's really gonna turn them into an exact replica of the McDonald's chicken nugget. But let's get started. The first thing that we're gonna wanna do is hydrate and flavor our TVP. So to hydrate our TVP, we're gonna use about 1/2 cup of water, maybe just like another tablespoon, with 1/2 cup of TVP. Now I'm just gonna put this on a low heat because we're barely gonna bring this to a simmer. I'm gonna add about 1/2 tablespoon of the mushroom seasoning, about 1/2 tablespoon of nutritional yeast. I'm gonna do, honestly, just maybe 1/2 teaspoon, maybe even a little less, Bell's poultry seasoning. And again, like every single video, there's no poultry in poultry seasoning. Poultry seasoning is vegan. We're gonna add just a bit of salt to the mixture, not much. And I'm just gonna crack in just a little bit of black pepper. Again, not much for this mixture. Once that's well combined, then we're just gonna pour this mixture into a bowl and set it in the fridge to chill for just about 30 minutes or so. We just wanna put a nice chill on this and cool it down. Okay, so this has been in the fridge for about 1/2 hour. Essentially, we just have to make sure that it is below the gelling temperature of the methyl cellulose. Now, the gelling temperature of methyl cellulose, this one particularly, is 132-degree gel temperature. So we definitely want it below that. This is sitting at about 62 degrees, which works perfect. That's exactly what we want. So now we're gonna move on to the next step of turning this into essentially like a ground chicken. We're gonna use a stand mixer with a paddle attachment, add in all of our chicken textured vegetable protein, make sure that we get all that liquid in there too. Like I said, for this recipe, we're gonna be using a lot of familiar faces. I have some pea protein isolate. You could buy this from Whole Foods in their little protein aisle. We're gonna do about a heavy tablespoon of this. It's gonna act as a filler along with the binder, kind of give it more meat, more chew. So we're gonna do about 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum. So I have already pre-measured about 3 grams of methyl cellulose. You do not want to go over this. This is about 1/2, 3/4 of a tablespoon. I measured it on a scale because the 3 grams is exactly what I need for this 1/2 cup of TVP. The methyl cellulose is what's going to bind and what's going to make it from a soft, like ground chicken-like mixture to when it cooks, methyl cellulose hardens up. So I'm just going to put this down, mix this together for just a minute. So at this point, it is looking a little dry. I definitely want it to be a better texture than this, but it is looking very nice. I like the way that it's coming out. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of vegetable broth. You can add water if you like, but I just wanna kind of help overpower some of the flavors of this stuff. Now this is mixed already pretty nice right now. I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of canola oil to give this a little bit of the fats that are in the chicken. You don't want to add much, and you don't have to use canola oil. You can use any lightly flavored oil you like. So at this point, you can really see how this looks like a ground chicken. It has the same consistency. It has the same pool on it. This is really gonna make a nice chicken nugget. And probably be pretty indistinguishable from the real chicken nuggets. I mean, this is wild. It's really wild. I am really excited with how these are coming out, like really excited. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of parchment paper and we're gonna start making our chicken nugget shapes with this ground chicken. Now, each nugget, McDonald's has 4 shapes. They have the ball, the bell, the boot, and the bow tie, which some people call the bone. So we're gonna do our best to get as close to those shapes as possible. Now I have pretty chubby fingers, but I will say that the shapes are about finger thickness, so don't go too thick on these. The nuggets are pretty thin. Okay, I'll be honest, I'm pretty happy about the way these came out. They look like the McDonald's chicken nuggets. Now I will say that you could see my mixture isn't as dense as I wanted it to be. You could add, if yours looks like this, you probably could add a little bit more liquid, which will give you a smoother consistency, but it's okay. These are still gonna come out perfect. If yours looks just like these, they're gonna be fine. They're gonna be great. We're gonna throw these in the freezer to firm up for about an hour, about an hour. And then we're gonna make the batter and fry these things. Man, they're gonna be chicken nuggets. Let's go. Oh, we got a 10-piece out of this. Our 10-piece chicken nugget is frozen solid. Let's make our batters. We're gonna do a dry batter and a wet batter for this mixture. They're gonna be pretty easy to make. So we're gonna do both batters at the same time. We're gonna do a half of a cup of flour and 1 tablespoon of all-purpose flour for the wet batter. We're gonna do 1/4 of a cup of cornstarch for the dry batter, tablespoon of cornstarch in the wet batter, do about a half of a tablespoon of salt in the dry, a little pinch of salt in the wet, half a teaspoon of sugar in the dry, and a half a teaspoon of sugar in the wet. Now we're gonna do a 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper in the dry batter, 1/4 teaspoon onion powder in the dry batter, and in the dry batter, we're gonna do a few turns of crushed black pepper. Let's give the dry a quick mix. So at this point, I'm just gonna add my nuggets into the dry and kind of give them a toss, just so that way they're completely coated. We'll let these guys hang out in the dry batter while we finish up our wet batter. We're gonna do 1 egg replacer, and you can use whatever egg replacer you like. I like the Bob's Red Mill. It seems to really work for me. Now I have a half of a cup of sparkling water, and it's just a carbonated water. And I have that very cold. I actually had it in some ice. I want this pretty cold because that's really gonna help this consistency. And then we're gonna add our egg replacer in there as well. Now this should be pretty thin, but I just added a pinch more cornstarch to mine just to kind of help it. So before we dip them in the wet batter, we're going to heat some oil. I have some vegetable oil. I'm gonna heat it up to about 350 degrees. I bet you they're gonna come out just like a chicken nugget. Okay, so the oil's up to 350. I'm gonna give the wet batter one more quick mix because it did settle. And then we're gonna take our nuggets one at a time, go in the wet batter, flip them a few times to make sure they're completely coated. And then from the wet batter, we're gonna drop right into the dry batter and then drop them in to fry and see what happens. Now this should fry for about 5 to 6 minutes. It's gonna come out pretty golden brown. You know the color of the chicken nugget, the chicken McNugget. Get it to that color. These look awesome. This came out awesome. It did kind of bubble up a little bit. Not really sure what that is. I mean, look at these. Look at them. That is the McDonald's ChickUN plant-based nugget. We got our bell. We have our boot. Mine's not as good as like the McDonald's ones. Here's a better boot. I think this boot came out better, right? Look at that. The bone is really the same as the bell, and the boot you can't really tell. But let's try these things out. They look amazing. I got some barbecue sauce. Dump it in barbecue sauce. That is good. That is a chicken McNugget, because you really can't even tell. I mean, that tastes like a chicken McNugget. Let me cut one of these open so you can see the inside of this. I mean, there's the texture. That's the chicken texture. Very chicken nugget-like texture. Very nice and juicy. Still has like the juice to it. It has a little bit of a squeeze, just like a chicken nugget. It's processed just like a McDonald's chicken nugget, except there's no chicken. That's delicious. That's unbelievable. I am a fan of that. Let me know if there's any other fast food that you'd like me to recreate. This was an easy one because, like I said, the McDonald's are already so processed, it's not hard to mimic. If you haven't yet, make sure you click the subscribe button right here and click this video. This is gonna be another one of my ChickUN videos.